The United States of America 1971 half dollar is a significant coin in modern U.S. numismatic history, marking an important transition period in American coinage, and it prominently bears the national mottos, In God We Trust, E Pluribus Unum, and the country name, United States of America, all of which reflect deep political, cultural, and historical values of the nation. The obverse front of the coin features a left-facing portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by chief engraver Gilroy Roberts, with the inscription Liberty arching along the top edge, In God We Trust, split on either side of Kennedy's neck, and the date, 1971, at the bottom, symbolizing both the ideals of freedom and faith that the United States associates with its national identity, while also commemorating President Kennedy, whose assassination in 1963 led to the rapid creation of the Kennedy half dollar later that same year as a tribute to his legacy. The reverse back of the coin, designed by Frank Asparo, displays the presidential coat of arms, derived from the Great Seal of the United States, featuring a heraldic eagle with a shield on its chest symbolizing defense and national unity, an olive branch in its right talon representing peace, and a bundle of arrows in its left talon representing strength and readiness to defend the nation, above which is a banner inscribed with the Latin phrase, E Pluribus Unum, meaning, out of many, one, a motto that reflects the union of individual states and diverse peoples into a single nation, while surrounding the eagle are 50 stars representing the states of the Union as of that time. Around the edge of the reverse are the inscriptions, United States of America and half dollar, clearly identifying the issuing country and denomination. The 1971 half dollar is particularly notable because it was the first Kennedy half dollar struck entirely in copper-nickel-clad composition for general circulation, following the removal of silver from the coin due to rising bullion prices and economic pressures, as earlier Kennedy half dollars minted from 1964 contained 90% silver and those from 1965 to 1970 contained 40% silver, making the 1971 issue a clear marker of the end of silver in regular issue half dollars. The coin has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, a reeded edge, and a weight of 11.34 grams, with a clad structure consisting of a pure copper core sandwiched between two outer layers of copper-nickel alloy, giving it durability for circulation but reducing intrinsic metal value compared to its silver predecessors. In terms of minting, 1971 half dollars were produced at the Philadelphia Mint, with no mint mark, and the Denver Mint, with a D mint mark, with very large mintages intended to reintroduce the half dollar into everyday commerce after years of hoarding driven by silver content. Though despite these efforts, the coin saw limited circulation due to changing spending habits and the growing dominance of smaller denominations and paper currency. Numismatically, the 1971 half dollar is generally considered common in circulated condition, but high-grade uncirculated examples and specially produced proofs, struck at the San Francisco Mint, are of interest to collectors, especially those with sharp details, strong luster, and minimal marks. Beyond its physical characteristics, the coin serves as a compact historical document, combining religious expression through In God We Trust, unity through E Pluribus Unum, democratic symbolism through the eagle and shield, and memorialization through Kennedy's portrait, making it not just a medium of exchange, but a cultural artifact reflecting American values, political history, and economic change during the early 1970s, a time marked by the end of the Bretton Woods system, inflation concerns, and shifts in public trust in institutions, all of which quietly echo through this modest, yet meaningful half dollar. The next top. The United States of America 1972 half dollar is part of the long-running Kennedy half dollar series, a coin deeply tied to American history, symbolism, politics, and numismatics, and it carries on its surfaces the national mottos, In God We Trust and E Pluribus Unum, which together reflect the ideological and cultural foundations of the United States. The coin has a face value of 50 cents, was minted in 1972, and features on its obverse a left-facing portrait of President John Fitzgerald Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, whose assassination in November 1963 led to the rapid creation of this coin as a national memorial, first released in 1964, making the Kennedy half-dollar one of the most emotionally significant coins in U.S. history. The obverse design was created by Gilroy Roberts, chief engraver of the U.S. Mint at the time, and includes the word Liberty arcing around the top edge of the coin, the motto, "In God We Trust," split on either side of Kennedy's neck truncation, and the date, 1972, at the bottom, all rendered in a clean, modern style characteristic of mid-20th century American coinage. The reverse was designed by Frank Gasparro, who later became chief engraver, and it displays a modified presidential seal, dominated by a heraldic eagle holding an olive branch and arrows in its talons, symbolizing peace and military readiness, with a shield on its chest representing protection of the nation, surrounded by a ring of 50 stars representing the States of the Union, above which is the Latin motto, E pluribus unum, out of many one, and encircling the design are the inscriptions, United States of America and half-dollar. The 1972 half-dollar is especially notable because it belongs to the copper-nickel-clad era of the series, meaning it contains no silver, unlike earlier issues from 1964, 90% silver, and 1965 to 1970, 40% silver, as rising silver prices forced the U.S. Mint to remove precious metal from circulating coinage, making the 1972 coin composed of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, with a total weight of 11.34 grams, a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, and a reeded edge. In 1972, the half-dollar was produced at two mints, the Philadelphia Mint, bearing no mint mark, and the Denver Mint, bearing a D. Mint mark on the obverse, with mintages of approximately 153 million coins from Philadelphia and 141 million from Denver, reflecting extremely high production numbers due to demand from banks and collectors, though ironically the coins saw very limited circulation, as many Americans hoarded half-dollars either as keepsakes of Kennedy or as speculative holdings, resulting in the denomination becoming uncommon in everyday commerce despite massive minting. From a numismatic standpoint, the 1972 Kennedy half-dollar is generally considered a common date, typically valued at or near face value in circulated condition, though higher-grade, uncirculated examples, especially those with strong luster, sharp strikes, and minimal bag marks, can carry modest premiums, and coins graded by professional services such as PCGS or NGC at MS66 or higher can become significantly more desirable. Collectors also pay attention to strike quality, as some 1972 issues, particularly from Denver, can exhibit weaker detail in Kennedy's hair or the eagle's feathers, while exceptionally struck specimens are more sought after. Historically, the coin exists in a broader cultural context of the early 1970s United States, a period marked by the Vietnam War, the Cold War, the Watergate era, and shifting public trust in institutions, making the continued presence of "In God We Trust," which became mandatory on U.S. coins in 1955, and E pluribus unum, first used on coinage in the late 18th century. A reminder of enduring national ideals during a time of uncertainty. Aesthetically, the Kennedy half-dollar represents a blend of modern realism and classical symbolism, pairing a contemporary presidential portrait with traditional heraldic imagery, and its large size gives it a substantial feel that many collectors and Americans appreciate. While the 1972 half-dollar does not contain precious metal and is not rare, it remains an important piece of U.S. monetary history, serving as a tangible artifact of post-1960s America, the evolution of coin metallurgy, and the lasting legacy of President Kennedy, and for many people it holds sentimental value as much as monetary worth, making it a meaningful coin to study, collect, and preserve within the broader narrative of United States coinage and national identity. The next top. The United States of America half-dollar dated 1973 with the D. Mint mark, Denver Mint, is part of the long-running Kennedy half-dollar series, a coin deeply rooted in American history, symbolism, and numismatic evolution. And it reflects a transitional era in U.S. coinage when precious metal was giving way to modern copper-nickel composition while still preserving the traditional patriotic imagery that had defined American money for generations. The obverse front of the coin features a left Facing portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, introduced in 1964 shortly after Kennedy's assassination as a national tribute, and around this portrait appears the word Liberty in capital letters curving along the upper rim, while the national motto, "In God We Trust," is split on either side of Kennedy's neck truncation, a placement that symbolizes moral faith standing alongside leadership and freedom, with the date 1973 positioned at the bottom of the obverse. The D mint mark, found just above the date, signifies that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint, one of the United States' primary coin-producing facilities, known for its large mintages intended for everyday circulation. The reverse, back, of the coin, designed by Frank Gasparro, displays the presidential seal, dominated by a powerful heraldic bald eagle holding an olive branch in one talon and a bundle of arrows in the other, symbolizing the nation's desire for peace alongside readiness to defend itself, with a shield on the eagle's chest representing protection of the people and the Constitution, and above the eagle is a ring of 50 stars, representing the states of the Union, a design update that had been finalized in 1964 following Alaska and Hawaii's admission. Encircling the reverse rim are the inscriptions, United States of America, along the top and $50 along the bottom, while directly above the eagle appears the Latin motto E pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one, a phrase that dates back to the earliest days of the Republic and encapsulates the philosophical foundation of American unity formed from diverse states, cultures, and peoples. The 1973 D $50 is composed of a copper-nickel-clad structure, consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, a composition introduced in 1971 for $50 after the discontinuation of silver content. 1964 coins were 90% silver, and 1965 to 1970 coins contained 40% silver, making the 1973 issue part of the fully modernized, non-silver era of U.S. $50. The coin has a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, a weight of 11.34 grams, and a reeded edge, features that align it with earlier $50 specifications to maintain continuity in size and feel for commerce, even as intrinsic metal value declined. In terms of production, the Denver Mint struck over 83 million 1973 D $50, a very high mintage that reflects the U.S. Treasury's intent for these coins to be used in daily transactions, although ironically $50 were already beginning to disappear from regular circulation by the early 1970s due to public hoarding, vending machine incompatibility, and a general preference for smaller denominations. Despite its large mintage, the 1973 D $50 holds historical interest because no $50 were struck for circulation in 1970, and from the early 1970s onward, many Americans associated $50 more with collectibles than pocket change, which gives coins like this a liminal status between circulating currency and numismatic artifact. Collector value for a 1973 D $50 today is generally modest in circulated condition, typically worth face value, 50 cents, or slightly more, while uncirculated examples, especially those with strong luster and minimal contact marks, can command higher premiums, and coins graded MS 65 or above by professional services are more desirable among Kennedy series collectors. The coin has no major recognized errors or varieties that significantly elevate its value, but like all mass-produced coins, minor minting anomalies such as die cracks, off-center strikes, or weak details may exist and can be of interest to specialists. Culturally, the Kennedy $50, including the 1973 D issue, serves as a tangible reminder of a pivotal moment in American history, representing both national mourning and optimism, and the continued use of phrases like, "In God We Trust" and E pluribus unum reinforces the enduring ideals of faith, unity, liberty, and democratic identity embedded in U.S. coinage. While not rare or precious in metal, the 1973 D. Kennedy $50 remains a meaningful artifact of American monetary history, blending political legacy, artistic symbolism, and economic transition into a single, enduring piece of everyday heritage. The next top The United States of America 1974 D. Kennedy half dollar is a copper-nickel-clad coin struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the D. Mint mark on the obverse, and it belongs to the long-running Kennedy half dollar series that began in 1964 as a tribute to President John Fitzgerald Kennedy following his assassination in 1963. The obverse of the coin features a left-facing bust of Kennedy designed by Gilroy Roberts, with the inscriptions Liberty arcing along the upper rim, In God We Trust, split on either side of the neck truncation, and the date 1974 at the bottom, all symbolizing national ideals of freedom, faith, and democratic continuity, while the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparro, depicts the presidential seal, showing a heraldic eagle with wings spread, clutching an olive branch and arrows to represent peace and strength, surrounded by a ring of 50 stars symbolizing the states of the Union, and bearing the inscriptions, United States of America, along the top and D. Pluribus Unum. Above the eagle's head, a Latin motto meaning, out of many, one, reflecting the unity of the nation. By 1974, half dollars were no longer struck in silver, which ended for circulation coins after 1970. And instead the coin was composed of a clad structure consisting of an outer layer of 75% copper and 25% nickel bonded to a pure copper core, giving it a total weight of 11.34 grams, a diameter of 30.6 millimeters, and a reeded edge, with a metallic appearance similar to the quarter and dime of the same era. The 1974 D half dollar was produced in very large numbers, over 79 million coins, as part of regular circulation strikes, though by this period half dollars were already being hoarded by the public and used less frequently in daily commerce, making them more common in collections than in circulation today. Historically, the coin reflects a transitional era in U.S. coinage during the post-silver period, a time of inflation, changing monetary policy, and evolving public attitudes toward coin collecting, and while most examples are worth only face value unless in exceptionally high mint state condition, the coin holds strong historical, patriotic, and symbolic significance, especially due to the continued popularity of Kennedy's image and the enduring national mottos, In God We Trust, first appearing on U.S. coins in the 19th century and adopted as the national motto in 1956, and E Pluribus Unum, used since the founding of the Republic, making the 1974 D. Kennedy half dollar an important representation of American identity, mid-20th century minting technology, and the legacy of one of the nation's most influential presidents. The next top. The United States of America 1978 half dollar is part of the Kennedy half dollar series, a denomination that carries deep historical, political, artistic, and symbolic meaning in American numismatics, and although by 1978 it was no longer commonly used in daily commerce, it remained an important circulating coin and a powerful cultural artifact. The obverse front of the coin features a left-facing portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts, whose initials GR appear subtly near the truncation of Kennedy's neck, and surrounding the portrait are the inscriptions Liberty along the upper rim, In God We Trust split on either side of the bust, and the date 1978 at the bottom, all of which reflect core American ideals, liberty as a founding principle, trust in God as a national motto formally adopted in the 1950s, and the commemoration of Kennedy following his assassination in 1963, which led to the rapid creation of the Kennedy half dollar in 1964 as a national tribute. The reverse back of the coin was designed by Frank Gasparro, whose initials FG appear near the lower right of the design, and it displays the presidential coat of arms, derived